Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome. Today we have with us Allie from FitFlavorFun. Hi, Allie. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. I am so excited to interview you today. I have been wanting to talk to you. I will tell you before we start with the interview, you're one of the first people that I started watching when I decided to take Mounjaro. And I remember you used to sit back and you were laid up and you were just telling it like it is. You were telling it like it is. And I felt like it was like a real kind of real raw approach to telling your story. So you'll have to tell us more about that and how you decided to tell your story. But to start us off, I just want to have you, tell us a little bit about your background. And when you talk about your background, I also want you to share what do you think brought you to the point where you were overweight and needed to use a medical treatment as an intervention?
I started out with Manjaro 11/17 of 23 when I was newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Now, I had been having all sorts of problems before that kind of led up to that point. And I have been either obese or morbidly obese since right after puberty. Like it just kind of hit me like a freight train. I've really just been overweight my whole life. And so when I did get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and I was having all these other issues like high blood pressure, I had gluten sensitivity, lactose intolerance, sleep apnea, like the list just goes on and on. When my doctor said to me, "Hey, I've put my mom on this medication and she's had great results. I think it would work well for you." And I said, "Are you sure? Is this safe?" Right? And then she was like, "Okay, here, I'm going to tell you everything that I know." And then I said, "Okay, I'm going to do my research." And that was how everything got started.
That was how everything got started. Very good. So when the doctor said that, did you just trust that the doctor, because you trust your doctor probably, or did you go into research mode for yourself?
Super research mode. So originally, I had heard about GLP-1 meds. I think it was like a year or two prior to that, kind of when they first hit the market, right? We've all seen the commercials. And I was interested, I was intrigued, color me intrigued. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let some other people get on that med and let's see how they do and let them be the guinea pig and then maybe I'll try it out later on. Right. It was kind of like when bariatric surgery first came out. And my thought was, oh, well, that sounds amazing. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna let some people do it for a few years, right? Make sure we're not having some kind of class action lawsuit situation, and then maybe I'll consider it. So, so I knew of them, but when she told me about it and I got that, diabetes diagnosis, I was like, okay, because my grandmother had type 2 diabetes. And I was like, okay, this is serious. It obviously runs in my family. And this could potentially be an effective treatment. So I went into research mode. And then after research mode, I went off the deep end and then it was like everything was GLP-1. And I was like, I'm going to document my journey. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start a group. I just like dove into it, no reservations. I was like, this is it. This is going to be my life for the next few years because it's just not only is it so interesting, but it's life changing. So
Yes. So the day you took your first injection, when did you start your YouTube channel? How soon after?
so so I got the medication. I want to say it was like a Monday or a Tuesday. And based off of my research, I was like, okay, if I have severe side effects, I want to wait until Friday to take my injection so that if I have side effects, it'll be over the weekend. Because my main concern when it came to side effects was not necessarily the actual side effects, it was more so calling out of work a lot, right? Because I mean, no
Yeah.
job is going to be happy about that. So I was like, okay, so I got them that week, and then I started the YouTube channel, took that first shot, and then it was weekly updates from there. And that's kind of how I started out. It was just, hey, this was my first week. Did this work? Did I feel anything? Did I lose any weight? Did I have any blood sugar results? Like, and it was mostly just me talking about my experience, because one of the things that really hit home for me when I was in that research mode was I was looking for other people who were the same size as me when they started out. And I wanted to see what their bodies looked like over time. Well, it's really challenging to find somebody who's willing to just, get down to their skivvies and put their body out there, right, for everybody
Yes.
to see. And so I was like, okay, this is one of the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to just be transparent about it, and I'm going to show everybody what this could potentially be like. And it's turned out to be pretty fantastic.
I would say it has, yes. Now, what was your starting A1C?
So starting A1C, I want to say it was like right below 7. I want to say it was like 6.9 or something
Okay,
like that. I mean, I was
okay,
very newly diagnosed.
okay.
So,
Good.
yeah.
I'm glad you found it quickly. I've just seen some people who've had A1Cs like up in the 12s and 15s, and I didn't even know it could go up that high.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
me either. I've worked with a couple of people that were up in the 15 range, and it's just so hard on your body. So
yeah,
hard.
totally
So,
different ball game to be up that high. So this medication, again, is life changing because I know people who have turned it around and now they're in the normal range from being up that high. So
yes.
that's great. That's great. Well, tell us, okay, so you started your channel, you wanted to, show the realness, the rawness, and just what a real experience would look like documenting this journey. And I think you did have done a great job with that. What were your initial experiences? Like, what were the side effects? Like, take us back to that first day you took the injection. If somebody's watching that's a newbie, you took that injection and what happened, Allie? Do you remember?
So, oh yes. Oh yes, I remember. So first of all, I think that everyone can kind of relate to being nervous about that first injection. So I did a lot of research, and I looked into various methods that psychologists use to help people when they're dealing with a phobia. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never met anybody that was like, I love needles. They are fantastic. I love them. They're my favorite. Right? Look at my
No.
needle tattoo. Right? Like nobody has that. Right?
No.
We're all like, please don't poke us. Thank you.
Yes.
So after doing some research, I decided that I was going to do a thigh injection for the first time, because statistically speaking, it has the lowest amount of side effects, and the lowest pain threshold. And then also, what I did was I would just like sing a song and do the injection. So not only was it helping me to kind of get through the rules of the injection, right? You want to hear the click, and then you want to hear the second click, and all of that being so new, it also helped me kind of work through that initial fear. So I did the injection, everything went smoothly. I was like, okay, that's not too bad. I think I could survive that every week. So about an hour later, I started to feel it. It was wild. And I know that that's not the case for everyone. People say that anywhere from, the time of injection until 24 hours later, right, they tend to feel things. For me, I I don't really like the term hyper responder, but I definitely felt a difference. And the satiety kicked in, the food suppression kicked in, and it was just I had just embarked on this wild ride. And
But it
I
wasn't enough to deter you, right? To think like, "Okay, I can't do this."
No.
Okay.
Okay, listen. So, listen. So,
We're listening.
when so when I first started, and every time I titrated up in dose, I had extreme fatigue. You were making reference to those videos that I used to do where I was laid up in the bed, right?
Yes. Is that
And
why?
I still do them from time to time. Originally, that started out because I was literally in the bed. I spent every weekend for months in the bed because the
Okay,
fatigue.
wait. I just got to stop here and say, I'm so glad you said that because I couldn't figure out. I said, why is this lady in the bed doing her videos? Now it makes perfect sense. Yes, yes, yeah. Because I've had those days. I just didn't record mine that way. But yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that cleared that up for me. I was going to ask you that and you answered it.
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make my update videos and I wanted to especially in the beginning with those weekly updates, it was kind of as the week progressed. So I'd be like, okay, day after shot day, here's how I feel. I feel like a dumpster fire. And then like day 3 after shot day, okay, I'm starting to do a little bit better now. And then day 4, it's like, hey, constipation is terrible. I don't wish this on anybody. Okay, it's time for shot again. Right? So it was like this giving you this view of the week and how it kind of progressed. And I felt like that would be really helpful for people, especially when they were first starting out, because a lot of what I found is people doing updates that were, it was like, okay, this was my first week. Let me tell you about it. And I was like, no, I want to know what happened every moment of the day. Like I wanted to be able to gauge it for myself. So yeah, so a lot of videos from the bed. The fatigue was intense. I felt like so many times I described it as like my arms feeling like they weighed 100 pounds. Like I would be holding the video up for the start of the video, and then toward it's like slowly my arm would be coming down, right? Because I'm trying to get that good angle. And then as coming down, it's getting heavier and heavier. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I wish I was like that guy on TikTok that just lays down on his pillow and does the video. He is so smart. But yeah.
Now, in your videos, you can kind of see a transformation because I'm going to tell you, when I first started watching, of course, you were laying in the bed and you're one of the first people too that now I'm not saying you're the first person because, I wouldn't know that because I haven't seen every video, but the person I saw who was actually showing that injection on the video. And so taking the injection, and you used to be in your bathroom. Are you still taking the injections in your bathroom? Remember that?
Yes. So, for anybody who maybe doesn't know me, I have a house full of dogs. And so one thing that's really important to me when I'm doing my injection is I need to be in a space that I am not going to be interrupted. I'm not going to be bumped into. So I see a lot of people do it in their kitchens, and that just wouldn't work for me because
Okay.
at any moment I could have a standard poodle or a whippet jumping up on me, or we're getting a delivery and the dogs are going crazy. So I just needed a quiet place where I could close the door and no one's going to interrupt me so that I could do my injection, because I see so many people that struggle with injection mistakes, right? They've got misfiring pens and all this stuff. And a lot of times it could be completely nipped in the bud if they just had a quiet space where they could just focus on what they were doing, right?
That's
So,
so
yes,
true.
I still do it in the bathroom.
Yeah, I think that's true. The quiet space, because I haven't had, knock on wood, I haven't had a misfire yet with the pen, not yet, and I'm praying I don't. But I think it's I wait till my daughter's asleep. I do it at night, and it's just me, and so I can pay attention to it. And I'm not watching TV. I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing that. So I think that's a great tip. I think that does make a difference. But I wanted to say, so you're going to love this when you go back at this, body of work you've created, because as a person who was, watching, I can't watch as much now because I'm active on YouTube myself, but, I noticed you were in the bed and then you started to venture out. You were in that kitchen making those videos. And then one day, I'm telling you, watched your video and you were driving in the car. I said, look at Allie go.
Yes,
So it's just
probably.
been a transformation. And I think too, with the weight, when the weight comes down, your confidence in what you can do also builds up. Do you find that?
Absolutely. 1,000,000%. Yes.
Oh, wow. So yeah, so that's just great. I mean, you well, like I said, when you probably aren't watching your videos back, but one day you are going to do that and you're going to be like, geez, oh man, I've come so far. You could just see it. If I'm an outside person looking in, you don't often get to reflect on what you're doing yourself. You might think about what you just did, but how often do we go back and think about what we've done over time? And whenever you get to that point, and I don't know if it's going to be your goal weight or whatever it's going to be for you, and I know you just did a video about the weight loss, like showing your,
Mhm.
how your body actually looks. That's another brave move. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can do that. I might have to call you up and say, Ellie, what do I need to psych myself up for to do this? Because I can't see myself doing that, but I didn't see myself doing this to this point. So who knows? I always say never. So I'm just so proud of you. I'm happy for you because you've come so far. Like I could see it, just watching you from the beginning till now. So, any other tips? Because I know you talked a lot about constipation. Like, do you have any tips for anybody who's experienced constipation? What about that fatigue? I know you're gonna have the fatigue if that's how your body interacts, or if that's how your body reacts to the medication. But what are some things that has worked for you or not that you could share with us with the
Yeah.
fatigue and constipation, the two biggies?
Yeah. So, fatigue was definitely the most intense side effect that I had. Um, and the few things that I will say helped was, being able to have that time to rest over the weekend.
Okay.
That worked out great. Netflix and I became good friends. And also, I went and had blood work done to make sure that my B12 wasn't low. You'll hear a lot of people that are like, oh, just get a B12, just take a B12 supplement, do a B12 injection, blah, blah. So I talked to my doctor about it, and she was like, yeah, if your B12 is not low, it's kind of a waste. And you
Okay.
have to be careful with B vitamins because they can actually increase your hunger. So I was like, well, I don't want to take something if I don't need it, if it's not
Sure.
really going to help me. So did the blood work. B12 was not low. Um, but staying hydrated is key. And then I heard an endocrine specialist talking about how these medications kind of activate the pancreas. And that's where a lot of the fatigue comes from. And so I would just lay up in bed and just be, miserable because it kind of feels like you got the flu, like everything's just real heavy and you just have no energy. Taking a shower takes like all the energy you have for the day. And I would just remember laying there thinking, okay, activate pancreas. You can do this. Right? So it kind of made me feel better like, okay, this is the price that I'm going to pay, but I'm activating this organ that obviously was not working well. So that kind of made me feel better. Staying on each dose as long as possible. This was a big one for me. So I stayed on Mounjaro 2.5 for 13 weeks. And by week 6/7, I was already starting to see that I was not having any more fatigue.
Okay. Okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, this is what everybody's recommending, right? Stay on each dose as long as you're losing weight. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this pans out for the side effects. So I'm doing my weekly updates and I'm like, no fatigue. Hey, no fatigue this week. I'm doing great, right? And so I'm just kind of going through. Um, and then of course I went up in dose and it was back and then stayed on 5 for forever and a day. I apologize. I don't remember exactly how long. And after I want to say about 8 weeks on being on 5 milligrams, fatigue gone. So then
Okay.
I was just kind of battling the battle royale that is the war against constipation. And that I have had from the start. So I made a serious effort to increase my fiber because traditionally speaking, many Americans have the traditional terrible American diet, right? We don't get
Yeah.
enough fiber. We really need to work on that. And I said, okay, this is my opportunity to change my life. And so I'm going to start with something that's easily obtainable. And I think that people, they get all caught up in like the weight loss and change my diet and do this and do that and exercise 20 million hours a day and 10,000 steps, right? And they get all caught up in all of this stuff. But if you can just set a singular goal that's obtainable, you will start to feel better and you will do more because you feel better. Just like you were talking about, I started out in the bed, started feeling better, branching out into the world, right? So I was like, okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to address this fiber. Got my fiber up to at least 30 grams of fiber a day, which was challenging in the beginning, because I wanted to do it with food rather than supplementation.
Okay.
And once I was able to build that up, now it's just part of my regular diet. And so that helped. And then also staying ahead of the constipation, right? You got to stay hydrated. If you go, I have a 3-day rule. If I don't go in 3 days, we are actively addressing it. We're on top of it. I either do the triple magnesium supplement, which you can, do daily, or I would take more drastic measures, if it was going on to like day 4, and talk to your doctor about laxatives, stool softeners. That was more of a rare occasion. But I didn't ever let it go days and days and days and days and days and days,
Yeah.
right? Because that's how you end up in the hospital. So, yeah, but constipation has just been my nemesis for so long. And then magically I got on Mounjaro 12.5 and it just disappeared.
Wow. Now I'm on 12.5, and I'm going to tell you what made mine disappear. The constipation was I switched to a pescatarian diet during Lent. So I gave
Okay.
up meat for Lent, and before that I only ate chicken, fish, and turkey. But I gave up all of that, and I just ate salmon, really salmon and tuna. But I ate a
Mhm.
lot of whole foods, and I'm telling you, I went every day, sometimes twice a day, which I knew because before I've given up meat, years ago, trying to do the vegan diet.
Me
And that's
too.
one of the pluses. That's one of the pluses is, you're in that restroom, you're using it, it's going right through you. And so that's kind of like the natural way to handle it. But other than that, I use the Mago 7. Like that's kind of my go-to. And I go wait for 2 days. If I don't go in 2 days, then I take it. And so I'm back to that because I added the chicken, turkey, and the chicken and turkey. I added back just to, get more protein in there. But what about exhaustion? Like, so what about for the fatigue? What about the electrolytes? Do you use that? Because I find that to be helpful. Have you tried electrolytes?
Yeah. So I, just to be 100% honest, I am terrible about staying hydrated.
Okay.
It's not my strong suit.
You're
Uh,
making me want to take a drink, Allie.
yes, please do. I have to actively work to stay hydrated. Now, this was a challenge that I had before ever taking these
Okay.
medications, so I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. Um, I really have to work at it, and I found that I would make like the big tumbler, electrolyte drink. Girl, I was not finishing that drink. And then I would be in the fridge looking for that diet cherry Coke. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna save this electrolyte drink for later. That's what I'll do.
Okay, okay, okay. And you
No,
didn't do it.
no. So what I ended up doing here recently that has helped me, is there are electrolyte chewables that you can get
Mm,
on Amazon. And I have been testing all of the flavors. Now, they have like a slightly salty aftertaste, right? Because obviously they have sodium because it's an
yeah.
electrolyte. Um, but it has been a game changer because now I can drink my flavored water or whatever it is that I want to drink, right? Because I'm all about the 20 billion flavor options,
Yeah. Yeah.
where I can have that diet cherry Coke and I can just, eat my little chewable. I have one kind of midday and then one towards the evening, and I get the electrolytes in, and it's fantastic. It was almost like they created these with me in mind.
So just for you.
Right, because
Yeah.
everything else is like, "Oh, this electrolyte drink, and I like this company and this one." I have tried so many, and I'm just so I just get sick of them, like, half the way through, and I'm like, "I don't wanna drink this anymore."
So how
So,
many of the chews do you have to chew?
so most days I just chew one,
Just the
but
one.
if I have a day where, I'm really exerting myself outside, like my wife and I have been working on a garden and I'm like really sweating profusely, then I'll do 2. The serving
Okay,
size.
wait. So you say that as you like two, and then I see this ring flash, and what's up with that, Allie?
Yeah, yeah, I'm married. It's not real though, so don't get excited.
Oh, okay. I love it though. I love it. I said, oh, my eye went from whatever you were saying to like,
It's so
cute.
funny.
I love that.
Yeah, I got it on TikTok Shop.
TikTok shop. Okay, we got to talk
Yeah,
about that maybe after the interview because I had to
absolutely.
venture to that TikTok shop. I hear so much about it. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, that
No,
just attracted
no,
my
not at
eye.
all. So yeah, the electrolyte chews have just been a lifesaver. And
Okay.
I think that if there's anybody else out there who's either struggling with electrolyte drinks that are higher in sodium, right? Depending on what, challenges you may have, they may be a good an option. Or if you're like me and you just really bad about staying hydrated.
Okay, so that leads us into talking about what you're actually eating, right? Because you talked about what you're drinking or not drinking as much of the Diet Coke. And, I remember listening to your channel and you talked about like you still have opportunities to have that Wendy's. And instead of having that big meal, you're having the kids' meal. And I'm telling you, some people give you such a hard time if you're still eating all things in moderation, right? I think you have these extremists, and I get it. If you were one of those people who, if you didn't take this, you would, probably not make it in the next 2 or 3 months. You have those people, right, who had
Right.
those real high, A1Cs. And so maybe they are very regimented. Like, I'm never going to eat another carb. I'm only going to eat under 40 carbs, a day. And I think that's fine if that's what you do. For me, I don't see myself doing that unless the doctor said, downsizing Diva, unless you just don't eat eat another carb, you're out of here. And then I would have to change. But for me, I want all things in moderation. So like on a Sunday, I have something that I want to eat. And so I love that you're one of the first people that I see, I would say admitting that they're eating that, not necessarily that they're eating that, right? And so, it just gave me hope. Like you can still lose. You can still lose eating, a little burger and a smaller portion of fries and having that, once a week as opposed to every day, all day. And you can still lose. And when I would see you still losing, that kind of gave me hope in that, okay, I don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I can still kind of watch what I'm eating and eat in that calorie deficit, but have some joys in there here and there. So how do you approach people that try to, tell you what you should be eating and did you get criticized for saying you ate Wendy's?
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. I made a couple of videos. One where I was actually showcasing what I used to eat, which, I was one of those. I used to have challenges with, and so I was one of those people where I would pretend like going through the drive-through that I was ordering for a whole family of people when it was just me. And I would go home and have like this buffet of, fast food. And it was all part of this kind of push and pull relationship that I had with food that I really had to address. So when I first started out, I did the typical, I'm going to revamp my diet and I'm going to change everything and it's going to be all healthy stuff from now on, right? Because that's what we've been taught to do our
Yeah.
entire lives. It's like if you're not eating like a rabbit, then you're not doing it right. So when I first started out, I was like, okay, I really need to focus on nutrition. So that's where I'm going to put my focus. Like I was talking about with the fiber, right? And I would set these little goals for myself. Okay, I'm going to really make blah, 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 blah. If I could talk, that would be
Mhm.
great. Protein a priority. too many P words. And, and then to get the fiber in. And so I started making these small changes, and I used to eat fast food. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times a week. Would not shock me to go through my Uber Eats receipts and to see it was every day. So I was like, okay, so to start out, I'm just not going to do the fast food. I'm going to really focus on nutrition. Let's see where we can go with this. And then after I did a couple months of that, I was like, okay, all right, I'm kind of getting the hang of this. I got my grocery list down pat. I was able to focus on all the changes that I needed to make and how to make them work for my lifestyle. And that was really important, because if it was going to be, you have to set aside 4 hours on Sunday and do all this meal prepping and have 20 billion grams of protein, otherwise you're not going to lose weight, like that doesn't work for my life. So I had to find a way to make it work for me. And I did. And then once I had that down to a science, which was probably about month 3, that's when I said, okay, let's see if these trigger foods are still having the same effect on me. And so I would do a kid's meal. I would do, okay, I'm going to order what I would normally order, but I'm going to stop when I'm full. And it was a lot of trial and error. And I wasted a lot of food because I was still ordering as if I was the old Allie.
I see.
But this medication was helping me to say, hey, you're full. You don't need to eat anymore. I had never experienced that in my entire life. If my dad ever got on and did an interview with me, he would be able to talk about how when I was, 10 years old, I would be eating just as much as he was eating. And he'd be like, you can't eat the same amount as a grown man. That's not going to work. Right. And I remember him saying that to me when I was a kid. So I was still ordering as if I was old Allie, but then I had to learn how to make adjustments. And then as I did, I learned, hey, if I'm having a craving for French fries, I actually do better if I either try to make a healthier substitute, right? So instead of something that's fried from a fast food place, I might do sweet potato fries that are air fried, right? It's still a French fry, still delicious, still covered in salt, still really good in ketchup. So I would kind of do it that way, or I would do the McDonald's French fry, which is by far the best French fry. Nobody could tell me otherwise. But instead of getting, 2 large fries, right? Like I used to, I would get either a medium or a small fry instead of, the full sugar, extra large soda. I'm getting a sugar-free soda, or I'm drinking a flavored water at home, right? So it was all about learning how to make those adjustments.
And I think someone who doesn't have eating, issues or a history of, overeating, they just look at it and say, well, just don't have the fries. But they don't understand, to go from a large fry to a small fry, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal when you're overweight. First of all, the quantity of it all, that's your favorite. I mean, that's a huge deal. And so that's why I think a lot of people just don't know what they're talking about when they make comments about, obesity and how your brain works, and just years and years and years of, if you've been eating something for years, just like if you've been doing anything for years, are you just going to stop one day? No, it usually doesn't happen like that. Usually it takes time, right? And some things you can stop cold turkey, but I guarantee you replace it immediately with other things. And I think that's what we're kind of learning to do on this. And yeah, I've been doing mine at a slow and steady pace. I give credit to, for people who could just stop it cold turkey. I haven't been one of those people that stops things cold turkey, but I don't feel like I've needed to either. I think if I have to do something cold turkey, I will. But I just say to myself, am I going to be for the rest of my life not eating a French fry? No.
Exactly. And one of the things that has really stuck with me from the Oprah Winfrey special was she was talking about her experience on a GLP-1. And she said, people tell you, oh, just don't eat the fast food. Don't do this, don't do that. But they don't have the same thought process as somebody with the disease of obesity or type 2 diabetes or Hashimoto's or PCOS, right? The list goes on and on. And she was talking about how, you don't have that French fry and then you're thinking about it for the rest of the day, or you're thinking about food or that recipe, or, it's the food noise. And she described it so beautifully when she was talking about when she first took the medication and it went away. And she said, this is what those people are talking about.
Yes.
The ones who said, oh, just eat less and move more, because that's the way their brain works. But for those of us that our brain didn't work that way, right? I mean, at 10 years old, my brain was telling me I need to have 2 pork chops because my dad has 2 pork chops and I'm still hungry, right? I didn't have that feeling of, okay, I'm full. And, I think that she described it beautifully in that moment.
Yes, and isn't it a good feeling to get full before you eat all your meal, right? Because sometimes, I mean, I've been full, but I've been full and stuffed with it. Like, I love the feeling of not feeling, I don't feel stuffed. I feel satisfied, right? That's like the best word now to hear. I'm
Yes.
satisfied, right? I don't feel the need to like take it any further and I can stop. And I knew that before, I just couldn't do it. And it's, I know a lot of stuff, but I couldn't. So that's how I know that the obesity is more than just I want to eat everything I see. It really is. I mean, you have all these smart people that just haven't been able to overcome it, because it's more than just don't eat those fries, right? It's more than just I'm not going to eat those fries. And I guarantee you, if you say, I've said this, so yeah, we can talk about that forever. But tell us, Allie, so were you in a calorie deficit? Have you been in a calorie deficit? And how much protein are you really getting in?
Yeah. So I track my calories. And for anybody that wants to, try to learn about doing calorie dense meals like fast food and the like, I highly recommend that you track your calories because it is incredibly eye opening. In that video that I did where I added up all the calories for meals that I used to eat, it was wild and I had no idea. But it really puts things in perspective. And it also allows you the freedom to kind of plan out your day and plan out your week. I think a lot of people look at calorie tracking like, the days of old in the 70s, and you've got the little booklet and you got to turn the dial to figure out what are the calories for this sandwich, right? And it was so complicated, and everything is so much easier now.
It is.
And so for me, being in a calorie deficit, it helps me again with that portion control and learning about portion control because it was just so disordered for me previously. So that's been a huge help. And then what was the second part of your question? Oh my
The
gosh.
protein.
Yes, protein. Thank you. Saved me. Thank you. So my dietitian recommended that I shoot for 30 grams of protein per meal and then prioritize protein for snacks. And so that is what I try to do every day. Now, I don't hit that goal every day. I also don't cry about hitting that goal every day. Like, it's not the end of the world to me. What's important to me is that I continue to show up for myself every day. So if I hit my water goal, but I'm not anywhere close on my protein goal, I still win.
Right, because you've done something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that has been huge for me to kind of take the pressure off because we see so many of these influencers and fitness influencers and, GLP-1 people that are just, it's this extreme regimen, or at least that's kind of what they portray online. And for me, I'm just an average Joe. Like that doesn't work for me. You're not going to see me at the gym at 2 a.m. It's not going to happen. You're lucky if I even get on my Peloton and it's right here in my office, right? Like it's a matter of you show up for yourself, you do the things, but it's also I'm changing a lifetime of bad habits, good habits that were never fully established, relearning nutrition, relearning how to eat, how to relate to food, and all of the psychology that goes with that. And that takes time. And I think that a lot of people, they get so frustrated because there's so much that you have to deal with on this journey. And I always say that I personally feel like people should be required to do therapy if they're
Me too.
going to be on a GLP-1. I mean, there is so, I used to use food as a crutch. Now what do I do?
What do you do?
Right? And I see these people and they post in the support groups and they're desperate for help. And so it's really, it's very challenging, but the hardest part is to just tell people you just got to trust the process, you got to stay with it, and just understand that it takes time. You know, most people can wrap their head around, oh, we didn't gain all this weight overnight, you're not going to lose it overnight. But for the psychology part, right? Like I had somebody asking me on my video today, they were like, hey, you know, I'm having these challenges with transfer addiction where I used to be addicted to food and now I'm shopping. What do I do? Right? And these are the things that make the GLP-1 community as a whole so important because we have
Yeah.
to have these conversations.
I agree. And I think I think eventually it's coming. I think eventually they will require some sort of the insurance companies are going to probably get this in there, some sort of therapy, training, not training, but therapy or something that you would have to go through. And of course, people are like, no, they won't do that. But they did it with bariatric surgery. And I think the reason why is because it's permanent, right? Once you
Right?
have it, you've had it, right? And so I think because that's more permanent, and this is kind of like you can stop and start, right? I think that's probably why it didn't start off being that way. But I think the more and more, if they're going to put more research into the habits and lifestyle and how people are actually using these medications day to day, they're going to have to add that component in because people, not even the whole, what do I do now with what, I used to use comfort. Now, what do I do? I mean, people just, trying to grasp their new life, just trying to survive in the new body and how people are reacting to you. I mean, that's a head trip in itself. So, I mean, it's just so much that goes on, so much that goes on. So I'm hoping that happens, but I think, it'd be nice for you to check out if you have a nutritionist that comes with your insurance. I think people probably have it that have insurance and just don't know. I would check out if you have therapy that services that are provided. Sometimes a lot of companies, say 3 to 5, or they may give you a certain amount of hours. Take advantage of it if it's free, because I just think it's nice to talk to somebody who doesn't know you sometimes, right? Because, they
Absolutely.
may have a better way or not a better way, but, they can zero in on things that your friends and family and people that know you may look over or just assume like, that's just Allie, right? That's just Allie. Whereas a person who doesn't know you can look at it in a different way. So I think that's the beauty of having some sort of therapy. So let me ask you, talking about therapy, I think people need therapy for this. Have you hit a stall, Allie? And if you hit a stall during your time, what have you done? So I've had some people leave comments on my video and say, I've been on this for a week and I didn't lose a pound. And I'm so frustrated. And it's like, you only been on it for a week. Slow
Right.
does not mean never. You got to give it a chance, right? And so, and I get it because, I don't know if I've hit a true stall now that I know the definition of a stall, but I definitely have gone weeks without losing. And so what do you do when that happens? What can you help us out with, Allie?
Yeah. So I have had two stalls. The first one was self-induced. I know, sounds weird, right? I'm sorry, what, Allie? You made yourself have a stall? Yes, I did. So in that instance, I increased my calories to maintenance level, right, from being in a calorie deficit. And that was because I had some blood work results that my doctor was concerned about. And essentially, what was happening, to give you the short version of that, is as you lose weight, um, for many people, your cholesterol goes up, right? Because your body is filtering out part of that fat. And then also your liver enzymes can also increase and get to an elevated level. Now, mine was not like astronomically high, like, oh my gosh, go to the ER, but it was high. And she was concerned and she was like, if this doesn't come back down, then we are going to have to take you off the meds. Don't you dare say that to me. And we'll have to, try to figure out what's going on. And I said, oh no. No.
No, you don't.
We are not doing that. So I did some research and I learned about, how our bodies are really utilizing and expelling the fat, right, that we've been carrying around. And I found that through the various studies that they've done, both on weight loss and with GLP-1s, that this is very common. That for some people, if it goes unchecked, it can be problematic, but for many people, it rights itself. So it's not something you have to come off the meds for. But my doctor was not playing any games. So I did not come to play games. And she said, you have to come back in 3 weeks and we're going to do blood work again. And I said, great. Okay. So I self-induced a stall, went to maintenance calories, did not lose weight for 3 weeks, which was so painful. I completely revamped my diet, went more of the, high fiber toward vegan. It wasn't 100% vegan, but it was very close. I cut out a lot of the protein shakes, the milk, the processed meats. Girl, I was living on rotisserie chicken.
I remember.
Right? Like trying to reach the protein goals. I needed to do it. So anyway, and then I had the challenges of like things don't taste right. That's never fun on this medication. So anyway, I was like, okay, all right, I hear you. We're going to do this. So I did, went and had the blood work again in 3 weeks. Everything was better. Yay. So then I went back to my calorie deficit. Many, many, many moons later, at higher doses, after being on the medication for over a year, I had another stall. This time, I didn't choose it. It chose me. And so a stall is really anything that's, I think they say 3 weeks or longer. So I don't even remember how long the stall was. I think it was like 2 months.
It could be up to 2 to 3 months.
I was just playing with the same 3 pounds up and down, up and down, up and down.
Now, how much had you lost at that point?
At that point, I want to say it was like 110 pounds.
Okay.
So my thing is, in all the research that I've done about stalls, it's a natural process. Like our bodies are not meant to be in a caloric deficit for months and months and months and months and months at a time, right? So the kind of primitive animal side of our brain is freaking out every day going, sound the alarms. We're starving to death. This is bad. We're having to use up the stored energy, right? Like your body's freaking out.
Sure.
And your brain will do everything it can to fight against you. Well, the beauty of these medications is it keeps your brain from fighting against you, right? I mean, we've all done a calorie deficit before being on these meds, and it's extremely challenging. It's because your brain is fighting against you. And so what ends up happening is your body kind of down regulates and it acclimates to what you're doing. So for me, my nutrition had become very consistent. I'm getting the same fiber. I'm getting I'm doing my little calorie dense meal once or twice a week. And then everything became very consistent. Exercise was consistent, all very predictable, right? We're humans. It's what we tend to do. We like predictability, makes life easier.
Yes.
So when I hit this stall, I was like, okay, my body's caught up with me. So I started changing everything. calories up, calories down, exercise up, exercise down, no exercise at all, increase hydration, decrease hydration, up the protein. I mean, if you can think of it, I did it. There were people like, no, 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 what you got to do to break your stall is you got to go to Juicy Crab and you got to get this spicy, spicy, spicy so that your mouth is on fire. And then you get back on your diet the next day. I'm like, all right, okay, if you say so. Girl, it didn't work. So it didn't work. So it was, I tried all the things. And the very last thing that, of course, people recommend is go up in dose.
Okay.
I was like, okay, fine. I'll go up in dose. I went from 7.5 to 10. Still in a stall.
Still in the stall.
And I was like, no, don't tell me this. Because when people post about this online, right, then everybody's like, oh, it's okay. Just do that for 4 weeks and then go up again. Well, I didn't want to max out, right? I mean, we've only got so many doses at this point in the game. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay on 10 and I'm just going to wait it out. It was not fun. 0 out of 10, I do not recommend a stall. But I just continued to do all the things. I was still tracking my calories to be in a calorie deficit. I was still getting in movement, prioritizing protein, staying hydrated to the best of my ability, getting that fiber in. I was still doing all the things. And then eventually my body caught up and said, all right, we've been relaxing long enough. We're going to go ahead and start losing weight again. So it's always funny to me when I see people that are like, do this to break a stall, or take this supplement, or do this thing. And I'm like, stalls are not fun. But your body needs a break sometimes. And for some people, it's a month or two. And for some people, it's 6 months. And nobody wants to hear that, right? Especially if they're on a health journey, a weight loss journey. They've had all the success. Like I said, I had lost over 100 pounds at that point. I was like, yes, I'm getting my life back. This is the new me. And my body said, haha, joke's on you.
Wait a minute.
Right. And I was like, okay, fine. We'll just hang out for a while. So
did you start gaining again on the 10 milligrams, or was it when you went up to 12.5 that you started? I mean, not gain. Did I say gaining? I meant to say losing if I say gaining.
Yeah. So I was just playing with the same 3 pounds. I'd be up, I'd be down. I'd be up, I'd be down. Even on 10. And then at the end of 10, that's when the weight loss had started again. But I had been on 10 for so long that I was starting to lose a lot of the other really great aspects, like the satiety, the food noise was starting to come back. So I was like, all right, I appear to have broken out of this stall, which I thought every time I lost that 3 pounds, I was like, yes, this is it. This is it. We're out of the stall. No, right back, right back, right there, right back, right back. So I moved up to 12.5 to get that satiety and food noise reduction back, and the weight continued to go down. It was at a much, much smaller increment at a much slower pace, and it has been for this entire time that I've been on 12.5, but I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. So let me ask you, do you hit on exercise? Do you exercise? Do you have a routine going? You're not the exercise girl, which we can relate to that. Because I'm not either. I had a video the other day saying, I'm doing it, but I don't like it. Because I'm not an exercise girl. I don't love it. I love the way I feel when I do it. I feel accomplished. I feel motivated. I'm in my Rocky era when I'm doing it. When I'm done, I'm thanking God I even made it through the workout. So I can relate to you on that. But do you have a routine established? Like, what are you doing as far as exercise?
Yeah. So for me and my ADD brain, having something that is extremely regimented or feels like it's being forced upon me, even by myself, I will fight against it. I don't want to do it. I feel overwhelmed. I have decision fatigue. I don't want to, right? I I just want to fly by the seat of my pants. That's how I want to live my life. And so I know that getting in the movement is important. So what I decided was anything that I decided to do that day was going to count and it would be a win. Because before, and I know I touched on this a little bit earlier, everything was setting all these crazy unobtainable goals and then not reaching them and then me making myself feel bad about myself. I
True.
didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to break that. So if I went out with the dogs in the yard and we were throwing the frisbee and the ball and it's 20 billion degrees outside and I'm breaking a sweat and we're running around, that counted for my movement. If I decided that I wanted to do a class on the Peloton bike, that counted. If I went to the mall with, my wife and my mother-in-law and we walked the entire thing and I got home and my feet were hurting, that counted. And so for me, during the work meetings, I work from home. If I did my arm workouts, which I'm a big fan of in meetings, as long as the camera's not on, then that counted for what I was doing for the day. So giving myself that flexibility, it took all the pressure off. And what I found was it got me more excited to do more. So now I'm like, I follow these ladies on YouTube that do these like dance videos to all my favorite 90s R&B songs. And I'm like, yes,
That
this is what
counts.
I
Yes.
want, right? Like, give me the jazzercise, give me the fun. That's what I want to do. So, and then when I get sick of that, which happens, then I switch it up and I do something else. But everything counts.
Yeah.
Everything is a win. And I think that for me, that has been the biggest mind shift that has helped me. Because before it was like, well, you're not getting in 10,000 steps, so you didn't reach your goals. Now you feel bad. Well, but you got in 4,500 and you did this and you did that and you went for a walk and you did the things and then you were running around with the kids and you were doing that, right? Like all of those
Oh,
things
that
count.
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I say start where you are. Now, I will say I am doing Pilates twice a week. I do
Love
the strength training 3 times. I love that because I don't, with strength training, you don't have to bounce around. Like, I don't like the bouncing around. Like, that's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But, and I could get on the treadmill. And so if I can get on the treadmill in addition to that, I consider that a plus. And then I like Taibo too. And if I could get that in,
Yeah.
but when I don't, I give myself grace. So we just want the message to be do something. And it really the best exercise I always say is the one you're gonna do, right? Because
Mhm.
I mean, it could be Tybo is great, but if you don't like it and don't want to do it, it's not great for you.
Exactly.
So so that's we would just want to say do something with movement. I believe in that, but I also believe in starting where you are. And I didn't start doing all that stuff I just mentioned. I started just doing push-ups on my bedpost. That's how basic, doing sit-ups, next to my bed. That's how basic I was. And then I built myself up to that. So, well, let me ask you, and then we're going to play this fun little game. But I want to ask you about, first of all, what is your end weight goal? Do you have an end goal in mind? Like, do you have a weight you want to end up?
Sure. So, I do not.
Okay, okay.
I know, sounds weird. So I know based off of a BMI scale, right, which we all know BMI is
All
terrible.
right, yeah.
I know kind of the range that would be
Okay.
appropriate, but for me, I know that I'm already got a bunch of loose skin. And I know that specifically on my stomach, I'm probably going to have to get it removed. And for me, it doesn't make sense for me to focus on a number on the scale when I can't account for like how much that's going to weigh. I've seen
Sure.
people that they've removed, 8 pounds. Well, 8 pounds is a big deal, right? And so for me, I'm going more so based off of how I feel and kind of taking that pressure off the number on the scale. it's really helped me to accept whatever my fluctuations are. Because one thing that you said earlier, which is right on point, is weight loss is not linear. And so sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're, not making any difference at all. It's the same.
Mhm.
And so for me, not having that pressure of that end goal number allows me to have the flexibility to go, hey, I lost 0.3 pounds this week and I'm proud,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
Because it's a win.
Mhm.
Now, where is that in reference to the goal? I don't know.
I love that.
We'll figure it out when we get
Once I
there.
get to my 100 pounds, I thought, should I set another goal? Because when I am a goal setter, but I don't necessarily have to say what it is. Yeah, I can have it in my mind too, and that can be okay. Because yeah, you're right. Once it's like you're trying to get to that target, and it can be a little, stress that you don't need. It's like when you have a win, you just take it and you enjoy it and you keep it moving. That's how I
Right.
feel.
Well,
So
and
what did you? Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, for so long, before taking a GLP-1, it was, setting these goals and then never reaching them. And
Yeah.
like all the sadness that went with that. So once I realized I was actually going to lose weight, I was like, okay, every 10 pounds is a goal. And people would ask me, they were like, hey, so you lost 3 pounds this week. What's your goal? I'm like, 2 pounds a week. That's my goal until I lose 10 pounds. And then at 10 pounds, I buy myself a present. And so every
I love
10
that.
pounds was this celebration of success. And I didn't realize it at the time. At the time, I thought it was fun. And I was like, hey, this is good. But now looking back on it, it really set me up to be like, I've lost 122 pounds. And I still get happy if I lose weight or if I don't.
Very
Because
good.
because if I didn't lose weight this week, yeah, but I met that protein goal. I met that water goal. I got that movement in. That day that I was really just feeling like I didn't want to do anything, I got up and did something. So it's helped me to look at more than just the number on the
Just
scale.
the way, yes. Which is what I'm trying to tell, any newbies that are watching my channel or will watch this, that's what's going to get you through when that scale is not moving. All the other great things that you're doing, right? That the scale doesn't show. The scale's not going to show that you threw a frisbee outside with your dogs. That might not reflect on the scale, but you did that, right? So I
Yes.
think that's great. Now, let me ask you, because I got to know, what did you do with your old clothes? Because when you sent me that before and after picture, I said, "Look at Ellie! Oh my
Yeah.
goodness!" And you can't see that. As great as you look, with just like your body has come down. I mean, I am so proud of you. So,
Thank
what did you do
you.
with all those clothes? Because I know you
So
had to grow. You slimmed down out of them.
yeah, yeah. So because I worked from home, I continued to wear clothing that was way too big for me for a very long time. Then the shopping started. And it was all downhill from there. But so I have kept a pair of jeans and a shirt from when I was 285 pounds. And my plan is to put them on once I get to, whatever goal weight is, just to have that kind of reference point. You see people,
Yes, that's
in the
true.
old Subway commercials where they're like, I ate Subway sandwiches, lost all this weight. Look at my pants, right? And they do the pants to the side. I want to be able to do that. So, so I've got that outfit. And then I donated the rest of the clothing to a women's shelter because I felt like that was a much better use rather than like Goodwill or something like that. And then there are some items that I love that I just can't get rid of. So I have some tie-dye dragon shirts that I love that are a 4X, which is what I used to wear. And now I kind of wear it like a sleep shirt.
I
And it's
love that.
like a dress on me. It's
Well,
wild.
it also it's a reminder of where you don't want to go back to. So I love that. I love having that that there. The thought is if you keep clothes, and I do agree, if you keep a lot of them, that you might feel like it's you can get back into them eventually if you have that mindset. But I think the mindset you have of this is something I really loved. Some things you just can't replace, right? And so to have that as your sleep shirt, I think that's great. I think that's great. So Allie, let us know. I want to know this. Why did you switch to compounds? Like when you switched to compounds, I feel like I turned on your video one day and I said, "What is this the right channel? What is this lady doing?" So you switched to compounds, and explain to us why you did that and where do you stand now?
Yeah. So I was getting a lot of requests from people that were like, Allie, I follow your channel. I love that you're really straightforward. And, I need help with compound. And I would always try to help the best that I could. But I'm one of those people where if I'm going to offer somebody genuine advice, I feel like it needs to come from a place of experience. So for me, I was like, okay, we've had these shortages with, name brand. What if I got compound, right, which you pay for out of pocket, and then I was able to use compound, and that would give me an opportunity to help all of those people that compound is their only option, right?
Yes.
You can't get it through insurance, or it's too pricey, or insurance makes you jump through hoops, right? So I just made the executive decision. I was like, okay, we're going to do this. So I got a 6-month supply and I started using it and, doing kind of like the side-by-side comparison. Does it feel the same? Is it different? Side effects, are they the same? All those questions that people kind of had. And then, I just started making the videos about it.
Okay. All right. Very good. Yeah. Because I thought, and I think that that's good because, like you say, a lot of people can't get the branded medication, and they're still watching, and they still need and want support. So I think that that was good that you did that. Now, what made you decide to like break ties with Mochi? Because I know you were a Mochi, that also surprised me too. Because I'm like, I can't believe you were doing that. Only because I just didn't see you doing that. But when you did it, I mean, when I started hearing things, that it was going left when it should be going right, I
Right.
thought, I got to tune in to Allie because I know if it's not right, she's out of there.
Yeah. So I had been doing a lot of research on various compounding companies. And when I was looking, there were a couple that were in the running for a 6-month supply. And then at that same time that I was doing that research, Mochi had reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, we love your stuff. Would you like to be an affiliate?" And I was like, that could potentially be good because they have this coupon code, right? So I signed up with Mochi. I had done videos on them in the past, and it was always really positive. That kind of went sideways on me. But one of the things that I included in our contract was, whatever the experience is, I'm going to tell people that's what it is. So if it's good, great. If it's not good, I'm going to tell them. So, and they swore up and down, "Yes, we love that about you. We like your style. We like your honesty. That's why people like you."
So they knew all that when they got him.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It was in my contract because I was not going to, I'm not a fibber. Like, you're not going to pay me any amount of money to say that something is good when it's not.
Okay.
So they were like, "No, this is great. It'll be great." I had that first doctor's appointment. Wasn't so great. Made the video about it. I was like, they're going to fire me. They're going to fire me. This is not a good video. This is not a good advertisement for them, but it was truthful. No, they were like, "It's great. We want to keep you." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
Okay, so they could fire you, but I want to know, could you have fired them? What you eventually did,
And
or
I
you
did.
can break your contract. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So then shortly after that doctor's visit, right? So this was at the beginning of my journey. That whole debacle happened with Akita Chiquita Banana Pharmacy. And it was an absolute horror movie. There wasn't any guidance from the company. There wasn't any direction. And I was spending the better portion of my days talking to people. They were in my DMs. They were emailing me. They were like, what's going on? Is this safe? Is it not? You know, other people are saying it's safe, but you're not saying anything. What's going on? I trust you. And I'm like, I appreciate that you trust me. I want you to trust me, but I'm just as lost as you guys are. Like, they're not telling us what to say. So I had decided at that point that I didn't like that. That was incredibly unprofessional, in my opinion. Like, you do not leave your customers hanging like that. Like, don't leave your affiliates hanging like that. But especially don't do that to your customers. And now I'm taking the compound too. So now I'm worried. So then we had our affiliates meeting, which was way, way delayed, in my opinion. Like, the news came out on a Thursday and our meeting was like a Monday or a Tuesday. Like, it was way too late, in my opinion. And I don't know what was worse, that affiliate call or, everything that everybody was going through about, is this pharmacy safe? Like, it was just bad. All kinds of bad.
Wow.
And I walked out of there. And I've said before, I walked out of that meeting with a list of people to block. And,
Oh, wow.
and I severed ties with Mochi. I was like, no, thank you.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. And I remember seeing you early on, even before you, I guess, decided to, to go on compounds. You were breaking down. You were one of the first people I saw breaking down the different uh what do you call them, compound pharmacies. You were comparing them. You did.
Right.
Remember? Yeah, you remember. Like, you remember, you did a whole comparison of them. And so I think you've been you've been a supporter of the compound pharmacies, and just people who needed to go the compound route for so long. So I'm pretty sure people trusted you. So I'm glad you made the decision when you felt something isn't right. Now, we don't know how everything's going to really pan out, but I think that, once your gut tells you something's not right, or where your standard is, right, then you just, you go. And so, you did that, and I'm glad you did that. So thanks for explaining that, because I'm sure people out there probably want to know, what happened with the mochi and how you even got, started with them. So that's good to know. And I'm glad to know they knew all that about you, and they still said, bring it on.
They did. Yeah. And
Jeez,
yeah, when you work with a brand or a telehealth company, they review the videos before you put them out. So
okay.
it was definitely I'm going to be honest, and I hope we're on the same page. Of course, they reserve the right to say, no, we don't like this video, which is fine. But they were like, no, this is great. This is good. I was like, okay. I'm
Okay.
all about it. I'm going to tell people like it is. So
I
and
love that. I love that. All right. So let me ask you, and then we're almost done here to wrap up. I just want to ask you, what advice, if you could give one piece of advice to a newbie, someone starting new to the GLP-1 medications, what would it be?
it would definitely be the best advice that I got when I first started, which is stay on each dose as long as you're losing weight. I know that can be really challenging, especially with, some of these insurance companies that are just pushing people through to titrate up, but stay on each dose as long as you can. There was so much that I learned just in that first 3 or 4 months, and I was able to do it at the lower doses. Like I tried all the injection sites. I revamped my diet, met with the dietitian. Like all of these things kind of take time. And so if you're not constantly titrating up, it can be helpful because you get kind of this stability.
Okay.
If you're
Yeah.
still losing weight, right, then that just gives you that much more leeway because you've got other doses to work up to. Not to mention all of the success that I had with dealing with side effects, because the longer you're on each dose, right, they start to go away.
Okay. Good advice. Good advice. I did not know that when I started. So that's a good piece of advice. Okay. So Allie, I have a good question for you. I want you to tell me one word to describe yourself before you took Mounjaro, and just one word. What would that one word be?
Oh, that's tough. Um, Miserable.
Miserable. Miserable. Why'd you say that?
Because I was struggling with so much health-wise. I mean, I was, I had the new type 2 diabetes diagnosis, the sleep apnea, um, I went through 4 different blood pressure medications. That was horrible. I don't wish that on anybody. I was in a constant state of headaches, which nobody wants to live their life
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It was bad. I didn't have energy to do anything, none of the things that I loved. I socially isolated myself, and yeah, it was just rough. I did a lot of telling myself that things were gonna be fine and things were gonna be better, but to look back on it now, based off of how I feel now, it's like, wow.
Yeah, I
It's
can relate.
yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, that breaks my heart, but not when I think of how far you've come. Oh my goodness. All right. So what about now? So what word would you use to describe yourself now?
It's so hard to narrow it down to just one word. I would say elated.
Elated. That's a great word.
Ev
And what makes you elated?
Everything it's like everything is new. Everything is fantastic. Everything is doable. Everything is fun. I don't hold myself back anymore. It's just I
That's a
just have this
great
whole new
reflection.
yeah, I have this whole new lease on life, and I would not give it up, not for anything. Listen,
Wow.
just have my insurance try to take my Mounjaro away, okay? You will see me on the news robbing pharmacies. It is so serious.
We gotta get that. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. That was so honest and so real. And those are two both great words. So look at that transformation. Even the word choice, it's a transformation in those words, right? From miserable to elated. How about that? All right, so now what I want to do is I want to make this fun, fit flavor fun, make this a little fun. Now it's gonna be fun for me. I don't know about you.
I'm all about the fun.
I want you to have fun with it though, and you are one of those off the cuff, tell it like it is, ladies. So I want you to tell me the first word you think of. I'm going to give you a word, and just think of the first word that comes to mind. Let me know what that is. If you feel the need to explain it, go ahead. If not, we'll just keep it moving.
Okay,
Okay. All right. Are you ready? All right.
I'm
First
ready.
word is YouTube.
And it's just one word. Oh, um,
I'll take a phrase if you can't do it in one word.
time consuming.
Time, because great, great phrase. All right. Eli Lilly or Lily.
Man, this is harder than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind, it's thankful.
Thankful. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Compounds,
Access.
exercise.
Can I respond with a sound? Could it be like meh, meh?
What about Kevin?
Oh, I love Kevin. Um,
Yes,
the best.
the best. Wonderland.
Astonishing.
Yes. Don't you just love that for yourself?
Yes.
Jeez Louise. The future of GLP-1s.
Hopeful.
Hopeful, great word. Reddit, the Reddit community.
Hot mess. Only one
What
upped by Facebook, which is an even more hot mess.
what about TikTok?
Oh man, that's hard. I don't even know. There's so many words that come to mind. Community, misinformation. It's like my brain is like going two different directions at the same time.
Okay, well, those were good words, good words. What about the diet culture?
Ooh, toxic.
Toxic.
Definitely.
Okay. Family.
Support.
I love that. I love that. Support. And my last phrase, it's not a word, life after weight loss.
All new.
Oh no. Are you excited for it? Are you excited for it when you get to maintenance? Are you going to announce I'm in maintenance or are you just going to
Oh,
say
yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
okay, okay.
1,000,000%. Yeah. I got big
Okay.
plans for maintenance because I
Yeah,
I
big
got a
plan.
taste of it. Yeah, I got a taste of it when I did that self-induced stall, and I was like, "This is really nice." Being able to eat more calories, to not have to focus quite so hard on the scale, but it's kind of in the background. I'm excited for maintenance. I know it can be a scary thought process because of everything that's entailed, but I feel like once you do the trial and error and you kind of figure it out, then it's different than the weight loss. But
Sure.
I don't know. I'm excited about it.
Well, that's good. And that's a great way to enter into it, not scared, but being excited. I think your mindset in this whole weight loss journey is everything, which is really the key to life, too. Once you figure that out, hopefully you can, keep that positive mindset. But it's tough because so many obstacles are in our way. Get out of the way, obstacles. How about that? So that just leads me into talking about your YouTube channel. So tell us, first of all, I want to know, where did you come up with the name Fit Flavor Fun? Like, how did you come up with that name?
So I am a huge fan of alliteration, and I knew that I wanted something that would kind of encompass a lot of different aspects of me. So, for the fit part, it's about, kind of this new lease on life that I have. It's like the exercise and, you know, getting this new lifestyle together and the trial and error that goes with that. And then flavor, of course, is all of the fun stuff that I like to try and review on my channel. I've got a whole playlist of reviews of various protein products that I like. And then fun, because it should really be about fun. And what is
Yes.
it? It is life. Life
Yes.
should be about fun. Like, we as adults, we have so much that we have to do. We got to pay the bills. We got to work. We got to do this. Responsible for somebody else. You got to do all the things. Where is the fun? Where
It's
is
on our channels. That's where it's at. It's on your channel. It's on my channel.
exactly. And it's so important. It's so
I
important.
agree. I agree. Well, I have to ask you, so on your channel, one of the things I love about your channel is just, I feel like you're just real and raw. But one of the things I have to tell you that just it just tugs at my teacher heart. First of all, I feel like you're somebody who's like, I'm out to like stop the bullies or the people who are spreading false truths, right?
Yes.
And I love that part about it. But as a teacher heart, I've had to stop some bullies and talk to bullies, but then I also, my teacher heart goes out to the one that's actually doing the bullying too. So when I've seen you on your channel, like, I don't know what you call it, roasting people,
Yes.
uh, I feel bad for the people getting roasted too. And so I'm like, I can't watch this. It breaks my heart, but at the same time, I've gotten messages that I thought, I'm gonna need to do an alley roast.
Yes.
I would never do that though. I would never do that. But I've thought about like, geez, oh man, like I can see how you can get a message that makes you want to do that. But I'm going to be honest with you. I thought, was this lady bullied? Were you bullied before yourself? And is that why you feel so passionate about putting people in their places, or is it just fun for you? Like, what is it?
Yes. So, absolutely, I have been bullied, and the kind of mindset that came from that when I was bullied as a kid was, I don't I don't like how this makes me feel, and I don't want anybody to ever feel like this. So it almost empowered me to become the one that sticks up for the people getting bullied. I got myself in so much trouble as a kid. And it was always related to, breaking up something that was happening, and there was a bully involved and somebody else, and right. And my parents, bless their hearts, they were just so sweet and understanding. They're like, look, we understand that, these are your friends and you want to stick up for them, but you can't act like this in school. You have to be, you have to do the right thing. You go get a teacher, you go right. And they would have these conversations with me, and I'd be like, Dad, you don't understand. That's not my friend. That's just some kid who was getting picked on in the hallway. I'm just not going to stand for it. It's not okay. So yes, that's kind of where that comes from. Um, and also it's kind of my social commentary on the world that we live in today.
Okay.
Social media has sort of propagated this new generation where people no longer feel like they have any manners. Like it's just, and it's gotten out of control. Like keyboard warriors, and people are like anonymous online with their anonymous name, and they're just like, I'm going to say some really hurtful stuff to you because it makes me feel better about myself. And I'm like, really? Because I'm going to make a video about you, and then you'll feel like a dummy. So it's kind of my play on that interaction. What if you left that negative comment and then there was a clapback? How would that make you feel? You probably wouldn't feel as good, right? Like you were just saying, you feel
Yeah.
bad for the bully. And many times I do. And sometimes, the ones that are really, really raw, I don't make a video about those, because I feel like sometimes people have their own personal challenges and they just want to take it out on you. Like, dude, I
Yeah.
don't, sticks 1 2 3 4, I don't even know who you are. Like, what? I don't, you're using a weird picture for your thing, like I don't even know your name. But when given an opportunity, I just recently had a troll in a live that I did, and I gave him every opportunity to ask questions, and he was like, well, you guys are not doing a good job of convincing me I should try this medication. And I said, ask me some real questions. Prove to me that you really do want to learn, because if you don't, then I give you the boot.
Did you block that person out from coming back?
I did.
You did block them. Okay.
I did at the end, but I gave him a lot of opportunities to ask real questions. And it was actually really funny because he ended up in somebody else's live the next day harassing them.
Oh,
So it wasn't about learning. It wasn't
sure.
about, oh, what are, there's all this stuff we see in the news, right? It was about trying to knock me off my game, derail my live, right? Cause turmoil. Joke's on you, buddy,
It
because
didn't work.
it takes a lot more than that to get me riled up. And as a matter of fact, we had a lot of fun with it. I have a really awesome group of members, and now it's just become an inside joke.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Now, have you ever had somebody reach out to you that you roasted and said something, or like came back at you and you found out, or have they found out? Like, do you just roast them and keep it moving, or has it been some sort of follow up behind that?
Yeah. So I've had 2 people that followed up. One followed up and apologized.
Oh, wow.
And she went into this whole thing about how she was just having a terrible day and some other personal things, which I'm not going to repeat. And she was just like, look, I don't know why, but I just took it out on you. And after seeing your roast, I realized that I was really being ugly. And I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. And I said, you know what? I super appreciate that. I'm going to take the video down. And I did.
Did you really?
I did. I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I love
because I
that.
felt like that took a lot of guts to, like, message somebody that you don't
Yes.
know when you
Yes.
messed up. So yeah, so I told her, I said, "Listen, I really appreciate the apology. Thank you for reaching out. Um, I'm gonna take the video down because I agree. I think you were having a bad day, but you might just wanna be careful about doing that in the future. Make a name for yourself out there." Yes, so that happened, and then it happened one other time, um, when I had an affiliate for another telehealth company that completely misunderstood my video. I'm still not sold that they even watched it all the way through, and so they left all these really awful comments. So I roasted them, and then they left more awful comments, and then I roasted them again, and I was like, "We can just keep doing this all day, like, it's not gonna bother me at
Now
all,"
that's no
like
one from YouTube, right?
yeah, yeah, it was a YouTuber.
It was from it was another YouTuber?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
but,
Oh, wow. Jeez Louise.
yeah, and it's just unfortunate. I think that sometimes it's hard for people to admit when they've done something wrong, right?
True,
I
yeah.
get that. I get that. I mean, I had to come out and say, "Hey, I told everybody to use this telehealth company and it turned out to go sideways and not be a good option." I had to come out and say that and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I don't recommend them anymore." And that was hard. And I understand that feeling. But at the same time, if you don't agree with somebody, you don't like something that somebody said, or in a support group or whatever, it doesn't give you the license to attack them as a person or to say something awful and hateful or, to make snide comments. Like, that's not helping anybody.
Yeah. I
And
think your people on your channel probably like that's one of the things they probably like about you because that's different. You don't really see people roasting roasting folks. So I think people who like that kind of, sense of humor or, I'm gonna let you have it type of thing, or probably it's so many of I could imagine it's a lot of people. I was bullied before too, and I actually fought back with to my bully. So I wasn't bullied anymore after that because people saw, that I stood up for myself. We call them, people that see bullying going on and don't really do anything about it. We call them bystanders, and we encourage the kids to like not to fight back or jump the bully or whatever, but to go tell an adult, talk to the adult, get the adults involved, and
yes.
that sort of thing. So I totally get that. So people that love your channel probably love that. So, well, I'm telling you, Allie, being out here, being a YouTube creator, it's so tough because people say things. A lot of times I feel like the people who do make the comments that aren't so nice don't really watch, and I haven't really had any, but just hearing the experiences, I've had people tell me like not to eat mac and cheese for Easter. I mean, that's probably the worst I've gotten. It's coming though, because I feel like the more you grow, the more people are exposed to your channel. You're going to get those people. And I just feel like my thing is I'm just going to kill them with kindness. I'm going to see how far that takes me. I don't know. But I do like how that lady came back. Like, so that makes me feel better because that lady came back and she thought about what she did. And sometimes you need to see yourself doing something that's not quite nice to
Yes.
get it. Right. And so
Right.
you were like that mirror for her, right? That reflection back. So
Correct.
okay.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you that. I'm like, what is going on? So that explains it. Do you call yourself a GLP-1 advocate?
Mhm.
I
Yes.
feel like you are. I feel like you have like, instead of having Superman with that cape, we're gonna put a G on you. Not just a G, a GLP,
Yes.
GLP-1. We're gonna put that cape and Allie's gonna come and she's gonna help you out. So I love that because the people that are just criticizing everything we're doing with this weight loss journey and these GLP-1s, and really a lot of times they, it's like I don't want to use the word jealous, but I think people are just kind of like, I was thin for so long. You don't belong in this club. Like now we've made it more accessible for you to be in this thin club or this, not overweight. And so I think that they don't want us there. But guess what? We're coming.
That's right.
You're going to get to it faster than I will. But I mean, I love that. I love how it has opened up this dialogue. And I just think we have to keep the dialogue going about this. And I think that's kind of what your channel does. So you have the roasting. What else is going on over there on your channel?
So I do just a little bit of news. And I try to give my perspective on it. So it's not just a repeat of GLP-1 news, right? Because we have a lot of channels on YouTube that do a phenomenal job reporting on the news. So I do a little bit of news. I try to give people tips and tricks that can help them. I do, weekly updates when I'm going up to another dose. I've got a lot of social commentary videos where I'm addressing a lot of the misinformation that we see, right? A lot of the social media and media propaganda surrounding GLP-1s. Of course, the roast videos, which are always a fan favorite. And I do the reviews where I review various products. Some of those actually ended up being a lot funnier than I intended. There's some pretty wild products out there. So yeah, it's like I kind of have like this mixture of things going. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. And I just recently put together an entire playlist for newbies. So anyone who's new to a GLP-1, there's a whole playlist where I have put together, and a lot of my videos come from questions from the various GLP-1 support groups. So that way, people who are new to the journey can get helpful information to help them get started.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Well, anything else you want to let us know? I know you make videos every day. Sometimes I know you were, and I don't know if you've been keeping up. You've been making videos sometimes 2 times a day. So you're a busy lady over there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell us about your channel?
Yeah, just that I put out new videos every day. There's a little bit of something for everybody. If you're looking for something serious, I get serious and passionate about GLP-1s. If you're looking for something funny, I've got those too. Of course, my dogs are often featured in my videos. So if you are somebody that enjoys that type of shenanery, then I'm here for it. I go live every week on Wednesdays so that I can help answer questions and help people so that they can have an educated conversation with their doctor about their GLP-1s. And I just recently launched memberships. So now there's like the behind the scenes of, what kind of goes on both in my life and in my home, and also, from a YouTuber perspective. Right, Sushi?
Aw.
She's a good girl. So
Well, that's great. That's great. I love that. So, Allie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for interviewing. I appreciate you coming by. I had a blast. I feel like I got to know you. And somebody I was asking, how you watch somebody and you think, I wonder this, I wonder that. You answer every question. I appreciate that. I appreciate the transparency, the honesty, and you keep up the great work. And I'm telling you, it's not about looks. We know that, but looks are what people see, right? And
right.
I mean, your transformation has been amazing, just amazing. I mean, keep it up. You should be so proud of yourself. I mean, you just look happy. You look like you're just ready to take on whatever this GLP-1 world has to offer. And I just wish you blessings, more success. And we're going to see each other around in these YouTube streets. This was a collab people didn't know they needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had a blast. Thank you so much for having me. And I have had so much fun. We definitely have to do this again
We will.
because I feel like we are that dynamic duo. So I think we should make this a thing.
Yes, we're like I told her, I said, we could be like salt and pepper.
I love it. I love
We
it.
can't say the music though because we would get copy. We have to figure out how we can get this music. I can figure it out. I'm gonna try to figure something out. But I will be in touch. Thank you so much for interviewing with me. Again, subscribe to her channel. This is Allie from FitFlavorFun. If you like to have fun, if you like what do you call it? The shenanery of it all.
Yes.
Check her out. Thank you for watching.
Make sure you like this video. Hit that
Yes,
like
yes, yes,
button.
yes. Thank you.
Bye.